Welcome to Trading Lounge and the US tech stocks. Just before we get into the individual stocks, I just want to have a broader sweep of the markets. And I'm going to start with the US dollar here. So we can see before 2023 here in late October, November, we've had this major turn here. So this major turn in the dollar here, the bonds and the yields were lagging in this, of course, but this is a really good indicator for what's going on in the market. So when we have a look at this top here, then that would line up with the S&P here on the daily chart here. This low here also comes in on that low here. So most of these markets that have found lows from the bear market that we've had here have pretty much got the same sort of pattern. Well, they've got strong trends to the upside. They can all be counted in Elliott Wave slightly differently. Some have taken out the top here and some haven't. But in this case for the S&P, we can look at it as 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, and we're still continuing to the upside. This will be the same for the Nasdaq as well. Now, I've got this counted a little bit differently here. Don't pay too much attention. I'm just sort of looking at it in line with crypto. But the same thing applies as well. We've got those lows in October turning here. Okay, this is even the same for the banks as well. So with Morgan's here, JP here has taken out the top. Not all banks have, of course, but you can clearly see here that we've got 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 if you've got a little bit of understanding of Elliott, and we've got a strong third wave unfolding in front of us here. So it's certainly telling us that we're not at the end of this particular trend yet. And this is, you know, this October low here comes in even with Nvidia here as well. So this low here for all these tech stocks, and we can look at that with Meta and Google and so on. So they've all got the same thing as well. And even Bitcoin itself here has got, this is Bitcoin here. So it's also got that these lows here in late October, November, or slightly a little bit differently. Some are on point, some are not. But what the same thing again here as well. You know, we've got this wave 1 and 2 here and 1 and 2 here, and we're pushing up. So they've all got the same. This is Grayscale here, one of the first well, sort of ETF, but now ETF here. And, you know, we've seen the BlackRocks come into the space as well. So this is BlackRock with its ETF here. And, you know, the volumes for these are, you know, the inflows are still, you know, increasing. So there's plenty of sort of activity within those. And so, yeah, look, basically all I'm just sort of pointing out today is that in the bigger picture, from the dollar turn, the stocks turn up, and they've all turned pretty much on, you know, in the same way. Now, they've all got different stories and, you know, as they move to the upside and can be counted in different ways. But my point being is that in terms of Elliott Wave, these trends are just not completed yet. That's, you know, that's pretty obvious to me. So, yeah, that's all I really wanted to point out. So based on that, let's go in and have a look at our normal stocks. Just starting with Apple here on the daily chart. There's two different ways to count this move up through here as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which seems pretty sort of obvious. There may be a case where once we've got this wave 1 in here, an A and a B, and looking for a C wave to come down a little bit further, and that C wave would be 1 and 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the third, the fourth, and fifth. So a little bit more to go here. There is a case, you know, there is a case where we can just have one more move down to here and then move up from that point. So I've mentioned this before, I will be aware of it. It's just that we would need, in that case, we would need to put wave 1 over here and another wave 1 over here. So 1 and 2 over here, but this is just a little bit too big. But I kind of get it though, because a lot of the stocks, as we just saw in the bigger picture, you know, even with the banks and Bitcoin and all the other ones, is they've got this 1, 2, 1, 2 business going on. You know, we know that Apple is having a little bit of a hard time at the moment. But yeah, I mean, even when I count it on the when we have a look at the Elliott Wave program here, you know, if I count it on this as well, this should be, we're just doing the chat GTP side for this now as well. So just another sort of learning tool in here, and hopefully this will be out. I'm not quite sure, but we're getting there. But 1 and 2 here, and 3, 4 and 5 here. So it's pretty good counted like that. So we'll just see though. I mean, the main point being here is that this move down through here is just not complete. At minimum, it still needs this rally and then another move down at least. So anyway, we'll see. It's just not quite ready just yet. And if we look at this ending section here on the on the intraday, if we look at this as 1 here with an A and a B, then you can see here that we've got 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. And then from this wave 2 all the way down for 5 waves for here for 3 and 4 and 5 and 4 and 5. So we still got, yeah, I mean, the thing is that it just could have this move here and then move up from that point. I mean, it's going to move up to here anyway, but I'm thinking it's going to do this a little bit more. So anyway, we just got to kind of keep a little bit of an eye on it. It's not a it's not a big deal. It's just not ready. That's all. You know, that's the takeaway just yet. We just need to be more patient. It's much the same as Amazon as well, really. This is a daily chart for Amazon. We've got 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 here. And then we're into this larger third wave here. So we should see this push up here further. Now, obviously, Friday didn't close strong. So we see profit taking coming in on the Friday. So that needs to be resolved on the Monday for most stocks. So we'll see Monday being down and testing support. And then we'll push up from that point. But if we just drill in and pick it up from this wave 2 here into the intraday, so this wave 1 and 2 here, we've been counting up as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, and looking up at 1 here and ABC for wave 2. Now we've got this could be counted differently here as well, but we'll just see. There may be even a situation where we come down here a little bit further and then move up from that point. But I'm thinking that we just come down a bit and then move up, but we'll see. We've got our stop around the 162 area, so that's out of the way, and we'll look to build again once we're on the 180, and the 200 is our target for these short-term trades here for this. And Meta platforms on the daily chart. I remember this being down here at 100 and the negative news that was coming out. It's the same sort of thing that Apple's going through at the moment. This low here is also, you know, ties in with the US dollar and the rest of those turns in the markets as well. There's probably 2 ways you could look at this little situation here in terms of which is wave 1 here for this. I think this is probably the better count over here for this, but I understand this one too, understanding this structure here. Our main focus, of course, is over here with wave 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, and we'll now need to look at this as a wave 3 and 4 coming in here. So we'll need to talk about this on the intraday because we've got trades in here, and yeah, we still got further to go to the upside here, of course, as well. So just pointing out the main trend here, but let's just focus in around this little area through here on the intraday at 1000 ticks, and it's not the one we want, so we want to go to maybe 100, get in there a bit closer. This is the one that we want. And okay, so what I want to talk about here is that we've got a stop at 462. Okay, this is group 2 here and group 1 here, so that's basically the swing range of that 500 here. So we're still in this particular move here. So we need to expect, I'm not sure how the aftermarket worked with this, because there's normally a bit of activity with this. I didn't check, but in one way or another, we can probably see, you know, a move down into the deeper support here. So we've taken part profit here on this here. I don't know if you want to leave this here or put the stop under this low here or wherever that may be, and just exit at that point there to lock in all of this. And then we can, once we've got our first impulse wave here, then we can look to move into that again. So yeah, look, it just depends if you're, you know, how short term you are in your trading. There's nothing wrong with holding out for this here, and also this 162 here, this 462 here. What we'd be looking for here is the first low below the level. So as finder sort of tuning in here a little bit, not to stick it on the 462, just wherever that may be in here, but to wait for that first low below the level, a bit like over here. So you wait for the first low below the level, and then you put your stop there, because it's just shaking out the stops anyway. Do you know what I mean? That type of thing there. So, you know, be flexible on that. But your question that you have to answer is that, you know, are you comfortable with it coming down into this previous support here? And then, of course, we'll look to build in long, starting from the top here. Once we've got the B wave in, well, then we can use that, and then we'll come over to here, and then we'll be working this over here as well. So once we get our first little impulse wave up here, however that sort of plays out here, we'll use the ABC to move back in on this to the upside. So yeah, it just depends on how you feel about holding through a little bit of red on all of this. Rightio, let's move along. This is Nvidia on the weekly chart here, just to give you the bigger picture here. So once again, from that October, November low here, we're looking up at wave 1 and 2 here, and 1 and 2, and then all the way up for 3, 4, 5. We didn't quite make it to the 1000 area here, so now we're going to have a correction. So let's go in and have a little look at this area through here. So just on the intraday basis here, we'll be looking at some type, there is a 5-wave structure here, so I'm not sure about the after hours movement as such, but we can kind of expect something like this here. So we didn't really get to take profit on at the 1000, and we fell a bit short on that. So I'm thinking here that we don't particularly, we've got a few trades in here, and we've taken part profit here and so on, so we're exposed on this one. So we need to exit this, so I'll just put a line straight through here. So I'm not sure where the after hours price is on this, but we'll need to, I don't want to drift down to the 800 on this. It's just, yeah. So a little bit unfortunate, we didn't quite make it there, but that's life in the markets, isn't it? So I'll leave that at that. But yes, some sort of ABC correction here. Wave fours can get a bit more complicated, so we'll see how that plays out. But it does appear that we've got an impulse wave here, so it does mean at some point we will be sort of moving down here a little further. Okay, so over at Netflix, and we were looking at the possibility of this pushing up higher, but what we were waiting for last session was one more little move to the upside. So we've got that little move to the upside because we're looking at this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in here. So we can put this on top here. It's probably there's a couple of ways to look at this this whole pattern here, but in our normal way of buying new highs, so the market's proving to us that it's strong, we'd start up here and we're waiting for this one to come in here. Now, I wasn't like sort of, you know, we could look at this as 1 and 2 here, but the problem with that is I just didn't really get a nice 5-wave structure here. It's more like a 3-wave structure. So an ABC for the A wave, a B wave, and a C wave here. So it's probable that we're down here on this with a B wave here and an A wave here, but I can't say for sure. But if this market's going to push up, then we can be long above that top there. Okay, so I'll just leave everything out of the way at the moment, and we need to consider the possibility of a wave 4. So we pulled back up into our little target area there. So we'll just wait and see, you know, we'll see how this sort of plays out. And if it does take the top out, then by all means be long at that point, because we're above the 61.8%, and we talked about this little gap being covered, and down here it looks like more like a corrective wave. If the 600 here becomes the retested resistance, and that means that it needs to be, you know, come down through it and retest it and then take out one of these lows here. Most of the time it can come back above the level here. Before going down, so be mindful of that. But yeah, let's just see how that plays out at this point. Currently it's support, but we'll see. Hopefully that it will weave itself down here somewhere, and then we can look to build a long trade a little bit lower here somewhere on this. But in the meantime, if it does push up there, because this market kind of in its own way does its own thing in the short term, in the bigger picture, it moves in with the rest of the e-commerce tech stocks. So that's Netflix. Been looking at it as wave 1 up at the 150 area with an A and a B, and then a C wave down here, and it's all counting quite nicely, and it should be completed as 1, 2, and then 3 and 4, and then we've been counting all of this down here. Not the best low here, but I always understand number 3 being the 4th strongest number always sees a bounce. The bounce that I've got here is not really in 5 waves, so that's a little bit of a concern. It's basically in positive territory from the Friday, which is a really good thing. It's not in negative, but it may be dragged down with the other markets, so it may be pulled down to here before pushing up. Now, the worst case scenario is that somehow we may need to look at all of this here as a 3rd wave, and then a 4th wave, and then a move down. It's just that it has, you know, the current count, it has overlapped here, so it does create that bullish bias to it. So I'm quite happy with that. All I'm going to do is leave the stop out. I'm going to leave the stop under the 122, and I'll update that in the portfolio with the trade triggered at this particular price point here. So the worst case that could happen here is that we do get another move down here, because Microsoft is also under pressure a little bit as well. So anyway, I'll put a stop in under the 122, and we'll just see how this develops. But as an A and a B and a C wave here, that looks quite completed to me. And when I have a look at Microsoft here, we wanted to line, basically what we're trying to do is line this wave 2 up here with Google, this ABC for wave 2 here, and Microsoft as well on that wave 2, so wave 1 here with an ABC for wave 2. Now, once again here, it doesn't really give us the best looking impulse wave up here, and when I say that, what I mean by that is that it could also be counted as corrective, as an A and a B and a C wave up here. So putting this as wave 1 here that we were looking for last time we spoke is probably not such a great thing to do. It's a 50-50 bet. They could be, it could be an ABC, and it could be an impulse wave. I think what we do need to be mindful of here before we do anything is that we can look at this as wave 1 here and 2 here and 3, 4 and 5 to finish this off here. So it could play out like that. Now, what I would normally say is that we be going long above this top here, and then we drop it down to this top, and then we can drop it down further on here. Now, you know, it moved up like Google over, you know, it wasn't sort of on the bearish side on the Friday, so it's kind of held its ground a little bit. So normally I just would look to, as I probably spoke about, looking for an entry above here, but I think we need to wait for one more high just to be sure, so to speak. So that means that we've had the arrival, the reaction here, and then we're looking for the first high above the level here. So we want another high above the level to prove to us that it's strong. So we're just going to wait that out here. So this little pattern here, we've had the arrival, the reaction, the arrival, the reaction, because what could happen here quite easily is it could slip on us and move down at that point. So I can see that the 1 is the strongest number, and that's that 10 here, and we can see that it's playing out here and it's played out here before, but it's never really, even though it's traded higher here, it's never really found support on that number. You know, so it's popped its head up here a few times, but you know, the retest is part of that process of developing support, and in all of these cases it's never been able to retest it and stabilize itself. So this little pattern here, which will be just the basic classic trading levels pattern, that's what we're going to be waiting for this. So we'll just be a little bit patient. We don't have the wind in our sails, so to speak, with Friday closing strong across the broader market and looking for an upside. Now, yeah, like I said, we could look back and say that we should have done that, shoulda, coulda, woulda, but I just want to be a little bit safe and allow that to play out in time a little bit more. Patience is a strength, and we need to use our strengths. And we come over to Tesla, and with Tesla here, we also don't have a nice little, we could count 5 waves from the top here down to this particular point, but not really getting the impulse waves here. So we're going to have to look at this as another move, another little leg down here at this point. So we'll take it to the next thing. So I'm going to have to bring this across over to here, somewhere across here. Let me just check on these here. So yeah, somewhere over here. Somewhere over here, we're going to have to use this here, I'm afraid. It's very subtle, but it is the high, and we'll have to use it as 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 here, because this is giving us a corrective pattern. Obviously, we talked about being short here, but I don't want to go short. So because I can see that the market moved quickly here, and then what it's been doing in these ranges, it's been slowing down. So I think that's what we're looking at here. So we'll still need to see some sort of continuation down here. Now we'll just see how it plays out. Wave 1 was quite short, and so wave 3's got the extension in it. So wave 1 and wave 5, you know, they could be, as they say, have a bit of equality to them. So we'll just see how that plays out. Obviously this is much longer than this one, so you know, always take these things with a pinch of salt, but we don't have any signal for an upside movement in Tesla at the moment. Okay, I'll leave it all at that. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers.